Good afternoon. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee meeting today. It's November 19th, 2014. I am Councilmember Blong Yang, chair of this committee. With me are council members Palmisano, Gordon, and Morsami. Two council members are not present. Councilmember Reich and Council President Johnson both are attending to city business. So we actually are four, so we are a quorum and we can start business. Today we have 5 items on the agenda. The first item is a public hearing with the Civil Rights Department. And the second item, or second and third item are consent items. The second item is accepting Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training and Education reimbursements or funding under the Round 7 Training Reimbursement Program in the amount of $39,576 for training conducted between July 1st, 2014 and June 30th, 2015, and to adopt a resolution appropriating the funds, and this will be referred to Ways and Means. The third item is to authorize execution of a 3-year contract with Lifetime Fitness for an annual cost of $389,934 for health club memberships, fitness services, and facility use for 774 police officers and firefighters, and this would be referred to Ways and Means as well. The fourth item is to authorize an acceptance of a grant award in the amount of $990,000 and adopting a resolution appropriating the funds, referring this to Ways and Means. The fifth item is to authorize acceptance of a grant award in the amount of $32,500 and to adopt a resolution appropriating funds, also being referred to Ways and Means. And so I'm going to switch this schedule around. The first 2 items that we will address are the consent items. After that, we will take care of the discussion item and we will put the public hearing last, okay? And of course, you know, putting something last may mean taking a little bit of time, but I'm thinking that we will zip through this pretty quickly, this agenda. So the first 2 items are item number 2 and 3 on your sheet, and they are to accept the Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training and Education funding. The second item is authorizing an execution of a 3-year contract with Lifetime Fitness for an annual amount over $380,000. Council members, any questions with regards to those 2 consent items? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the 2 items, please say yes or aye. Yes. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. Wow. All right, the third and fourth items are from the Office of Emergency Management, and you know we don't see you all that often, so it's good to see you. And please come on up, and if you can just speak to those 2 items, that would be great.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to present today. My name is Ned Smith, and I am a contractor with the Office of Emergency Management. I'm here today to request authorizing acceptance of the 2014 Minnesota Department of Public Safety Urban Area Security Initiative grant of $990,000 and the Homeland Security Emergency Management 2014 Mass Care Award of $32,500. The Urban Area Security Initiative is a routine receipt as part of a larger grant portfolio that the city and the Office of Emergency Management have received for a number of years. In 2013, an equal amount was used by the Police Department, the Fire Department, Office of Emergency Management, 911, and other departments for planning, training, exercises, and equipment. In 2014, funds will be used by the Police Department, Fire Department, Office of Emergency Management, the Health Department, and the Park Police, as well as a few other departments for continued programs and equipment. The Homeland Security Initiative Management 2014 Mass Care Award is to support the management and maintenance of the mass care and shelter cache that the city manages for the region and the state. The funds will be used for warehouse rent and cache management personnel. The Office of Emergency Management seeks authorizing acceptance of these programs. Thank you for your consideration, and I am happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, Mr. Smith, with regards to the $990,000 grant, it's going to be split amongst the different agencies. And how do you determine that? And one, how do you determine that? And two, is your department the department that manages the grant?
So we are the department that manages the grant on behalf of the city. We partner with the Homeland Security and Emergency Management of the state. So that the UASI, the abbreviation is UASI. UASI itself is a Homeland Security grant program from FEMA that they distribute to the largest metropolitan areas intended to enhance Homeland Security. That is given to the state, and then the state is the authorizing agent to pass it out to the Urban Area Security Initiative, which is a committee, which is where Mr. Lane is right now, as a matter of fact, is meeting with that committee. From there, we reach out to our stakeholders and partners within the city and take requests for investments that they might have, any programs, training, equipment, things that they need. We then look at the needs of the city as determined by, first of all, the Office of Emergency Management strategic goals. So there are certain things that OEM would like to achieve in the next year. We look at the things that they are applying for to see that those match up. The other thing we compare it against is the Threat Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment, often called a THIRA, which is kind of a it's a form of a gap analysis that looks at what are the things that could happen or most likely to happen within the city, and what are the resources that we need in order to meet those requirements that would come up from such an incident. That the investment requests that they give us, we then look at, is this meeting a need that we've identified in our THIRA? We then work with the Urban Area Security Initiative Council, which is Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the 7 surrounding counties, and review our investment requests with them as well. And then that is all rolled up into a package that's sent to the state for approval.
Okay, and when I'm looking at the, I guess, UASI award notification, it talks about the specific investments, and I'm imagining the full amount total is almost close to $1 million there, and they just list specific investments or categories, and at some point, is it that your office contracts with, let's say, the MPD or the fire department or some other agency to deliver the services for your department? Or, how is that done? Just because I guess, like, when I'm looking at the spreadsheet, I'm not really understanding how, let's say, investment CBRNE or investment EOC, COP. I don't really understand that.
So CBRNE is chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosives. So that is gear that would protect you from such an incident. That specifically goes 100% to the fire department, and they use that to purchase hazardous materials turnout gear, so things that they can wear that would protect them, which is also a key initiative of the UASI program. It's one of the things they ask to make sure that you're spending your money on is protecting our personnel. In that case, we would work with the chief to let him know that that money has been appropriated for his department. His department would then go out and purchase the items that they need, and then submit those invoices to the Office of Emergency Management for reimbursement, which we then in turn turn into the state for federal reimbursement.
Okay. Council members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I will move those 2 items, item number 4 and 5, for approval. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, I did say it was going to be pretty quick. We are here for the public hearing, and let me just, I guess, throw out some parameters for the folks that are here to speak on their own behalf. We are here for a public hearing with regards to the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights, the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, and the Police Conduct Review Panel. And we will be considering the mayoral and city council appointments as follows. For the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights, we have 3 appointments. The first appointment is Aaliyah Hodge. Second appointment is Adair Mosley. Third appointment is Miriam Mokri, sorry. For the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, we have 4 appointments, and I'm thinking one of them is actually just to appoint this person for a specific position because they're already on that commission. And so one is Adriana Cirillo, second person is Nada Medicine Crow, third person is Amran Farah, and the fourth person is Laura Westfall. And then the third commissioner panel is the Police Conduct Review Panel, and there are 2 people. One is Nak Nguyen, and the second person is Philip Trebetowski. So we have all those folks. I know not everyone is here, but for the folks who are here, when you get the chance, if you can limit your statement to about 2 minutes, that would be wonderful. And if you can also point out whether you're a mayoral appointment or a city council appointment, that would be great. On top of that, please let us know what ward you're from, whether you're a mayoral or a city council appointment. Let us know what ward you're from. Okay? All right, and Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Michael Brown, and I'm the Director of the Office of Police Conduct Review, and I'm going to be co-presenting this afternoon with Tony Newborn, who is the Director of the Complaint Investigation Process. What I will do is abbreviate my remarks because you covered a lot of the material that I wanted to make sure people were aware of. I did want to point out that there is an updated RCA that should be in the agenda, and that does have the information that designates that the current commissioner, that's Jenny Singleton, is going to be designated as the vice chair of the Police Conduct Oversight Commission by the mayor. But we are here to fill 9 vacancies, and what I wanted to do was just talk real briefly about the process that we went through. We broke it down to mainly 3 phases. The first phase is the recruitment phase, and I will be deferring to Director Newborn to talk about the recruitment efforts and to kind of tie back in from the last couple of cycles about some of the concerns about some of the recruitment for the boards and commissions related to the Civil Rights Department. Then also to discuss the screening of the applications, which was the second phase, and then the application interview and selection phase. So before I get into those second 2 phases, what I'll do is defer to Director Newborn to talk about the recruitment phase.
Thank you so much, Director Brown. Good afternoon, committee members. I'm here to talk about our recruitment efforts. And last time that we were before this committee to talk about the spring selection council, the selection cycle for the commission, you all mentioned that you wanted us to do some focused recruitment in wards 4 and 5. Historically, those have been the unrepresented wards on our commissions. And we listened to you, and we did some recruitment efforts over the summer. As Michael mentioned, the selection cycle began in August of 2014 and ended in October 10th, 2014. And during that time, what we did was we were on the radio, we put notices in the newspapers, the Camden newspaper, the Northeastern newspaper, North News. We utilize our social media, our Facebook page, our website, as well as our blog. We coordinated with the communications department to issue out a press release. I believe that we were on your city council news bites as well. One of the initiatives that the department has is to visit 13 neighborhood organizations throughout the 13 different wards. And our first neighborhood organization that we visited was the Harrison Neighborhood Organization. And I gave a presentation about not only the complaint filing process, but as well as the commission and its role, the commissions and its roles. And we talked about that the application deadline and walked them through the application process. So we received positive feedback regarding our recruitment efforts, and the community members appreciated the fact that we not only were talking and educating them about our complaint filing process, but also the roles of the commission and the importance of being civically engaged. But we feel that our recruitment efforts were successful, given the fact that we had 3 applications during this cycle, 1 from Ward 4 and 2 from Ward 5. So we anticipate to and plan to continue those same recruitment efforts and even expand off of those for future selection process cycles. And with that, I will turn it back over to Director Brown to talk about the process.
Thank you. So the second phase was the screening phase of the applications, and what we did is we started to pull together the selection committee in August of this year. The selection committee was Commander Christopher Granger from the Minneapolis Police Department, Aisha Gomez from Councilmember Alondra Cano's office, Nicole Archbold from the mayor's office, and then Director Newmar and myself participated in that screening process. And what we did is took all the applications. We had 27 applications in total for all three boards and commissions, and reviewed those on October 16th as a group to try to narrow those down. We narrowed them down to 13, and those 13 moved on to become finalists as the semifinalists for the positions. That moved us into the third phase, which was the applicant interview phase. We reserved more than half of the day on October 22nd to do the interviews and interviewed all 13 of the semifinalists to narrow it down to the 9 that are before this committee for review and approval. And so with that, what I'd like to do is move directly towards the individual presentations. There are 2 individuals who will not be present today due to some offsite training. That's Miriam Mokri on the Commission on Civil Rights, and then also it is Nuk Nguyen, and I believe both of those individuals submitted a written statement as to why they would like to be continued in this process and be appointed. So with that, what we could do, should the chair wish to start bringing folks up and have,
yes, let's start with the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights.
So let's start with Alicia Hodge.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Leah Hodge. I live on 3643 Colfax Avenue North, Ward 4. I'm 20 years old, and I am a first-year student at Humphrey School of Public Policy. I'm studying community and economic development and social policy. That I'm also the daughter of an immigrant, and that being said, there is no social policy that hasn't affected my life. Good ways and bad ways. I want to serve on this commission because I feel that every person living in Minneapolis should have access to the same opportunities that I have. And I see Minneapolis growing, but I don't see those gains unilaterally. That's what drew me into applying for this position. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next is Adair Mosley.
Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adair Mosley. I live in Ward 5. I am a mayoral candidate, I believe. Certainly, thank you for this opportunity to serve the city of Minneapolis. The recognition that every human being deserves equal and just treatment is something I hold close to me, and I vow to uphold as a commissioner. I have a commitment to equity and to the betterment of our community. I promise as a commissioner to encourage and educate the public in the promotion of civil rights. I will be a sound and impartial voice for the commission, and I will also bring passion and commitment as a commissioner. Civil rights are something truly at the front and center of our national dialogue, even today. Freedom, liberty, and equality and equity is what makes this nation great, and I promise to uphold those truths. I work every day in an organization that puts equity above everything in the work that we do and in the advancement of all of the residents and the constituents that we serve. So I'm deeply passionate about this and I'm honored to serve. Thank you.
Council members, any questions? Mr. Mosley,
Yes,
you're from Ward 5.
correct.
That's great. I'm from Ward 5. Quick question for you. You talk about equity. What does that mean to you?
I think, there's this saying in terms of equality is giving everyone a shoe, equity is giving them a shoe that fits. And I think it really is being specific to the person, and that everyone has an opportunity, and that it's not a one size fit all, but it's really catered to the individual. It's a broad statement, but more than anything, I think it's really making sure that everyone has a fair and equal chance, and that we really need to cater and tailor it to the individual, and that it just cannot simply be broad. I think that's really what equity is about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I learned of this certainly through your various Facebook posts, and was appalled.
Thank you.
Yes, and was appalled that we didn't have any representation from Ward 4 and 5. So I'm deeply honored to serve. Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna just put the brakes on right there, since this is a public hearing for the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights. I'm going to open it up for questions or for comments from the public with regards to maybe any support or opposition of these two candidates, because I know that some folks have written into wanting to put some input into this. So anybody want to speak with regards to these two appointments? Ms. Newborn? Okay. Okay, sure. Why don't you do that, and then we'll open up for input from the community.
So our final candidate is Miriam Mokri, and just a point of note is that all of the candidates for the Commission on Civil Rights are mayoral candidates, and candidate commissioner, she's not a commissioner yet, but candidate Mokri is from Ward 6, and she has submitted a letter to read to the council. She says, "Thank you very much for considering me to serve on the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights. I wish I could have introduced myself in person, but a mandatory work conference has prohibited my attendance. I hope you will accept my written statement in support of my candidacy." Minneapolis has a long-standing tradition of recognizing, celebrating, and protecting civil rights for its citizens. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." The Commission acts as the words of our community, providing a voice and protection to the underrepresented. The Commission has been a harbinger for social change, ranging in issues from marriage equality to institutional racism in professional sports. I have been fortunate enough to see the Commission in action. I am proud of how the commissioners who are passionate about social justice and who work together to effect change represent our community. I would like to be a part of that message and believe I would be an asset to the Commission. Minneapolis's proactive and progressive stance addressing civil rights is the cornerstone of my aspiration to serve on the Commission, whether as a Minneapolis public defender or now as a human services judge. I have devoted my career to the pursuit of fairness and equality in government. I have experienced how the perception of institutional unfairness and prejudice negatively affects our community's trust. I see myself being an asset to the Commission in primarily 3 ways. First, through my extensive courtroom experience, I know how to conduct hearings, communicate between the public and governmental agencies, and disseminate information catered to a specific audience. Second, I have worked extensively with Minneapolis residents and am sensitive to the concerns of my neighbors from all backgrounds. And finally, third, I am comfortable working with high-volume caseloads requiring in-depth analysis with a quick turnaround. In my work, I have been both a tenacious advocate, a fair arbiter. I have worked with limited resources to achieve well-researched, creative, and meaningful solutions. I know that if called to serve, the skills that I have honed will be put to good use. My employment has allowed me to interact one-on-one with people, but I would also like to get involved with meaningful policy making on the ground level. I think it is important to educate disenfranchised populations of recourse for discrimination and bias. Equally important are community events to increase the public visibility of the Commission as a viable tribunal for issues of discrimination and bias. Finally, it is necessary to identify emerging civil rights issues and proactively address them as they develop. I would be honored to serve on the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights. Thank you for receiving my letter today. Once again, thank you for your consideration.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you. So I'm going to open up the public hearing for the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights. Anybody want to speak to any of the appointments? All right. Going once, twice. All right. We will close the public hearing on the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights. And council members, I'm going to move that we confirm all three candidates. Any discussion? Councilmember Gordon.
I just wanted to extend my appreciation for all the applicants and also for the staff to take the extra effort to go out and do the recruiting and try to get a better representation. So that's fantastic, and it's greatly appreciated. And then I guess the mayor for bringing those names forward.
Any more discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in approval, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We're going to move to the Police Conduct Oversight Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Police Conduct Oversight Commission is filling 4 terms. I just want to point out that 3 of those terms were originally 1-year terms when we started up the organization last year. So those will now become 2 full-year terms, 2-year terms, full terms for those individuals. The 1-year term is an individual who left the organization because they moved out of the district. We had 2 people who moved out of the district and 2 people who didn't reapply. So that's why we have 4 openings with that. So before we take those 4 individuals, I'd like to first bring up Commissioner Jennifer Singleton to address the committee on her desire to serve as the vice chair of the committee.
So, Mr. Brown, before Ms. Singleton speaks, and Ms. Singleton, I'm sorry to appear a little bit rude here. You know, in this situation, why is it necessary for us to, I guess, confirm that? You know, I imagine most situations, you know, groups like this, I mean, they get to make their own choices as to who is the chair or vice chair. I mean, is that correct, or what am I missing here?
And Mr. Chair, council members, this particular ordinance specifically states that the mayor will designate who the chair and the vice chair will be for this particular group. So that's different than from, for example, the Commission on Civil Rights, where they were choosing amongst the group. So in this particular circumstance, we put it all through the commission process for the public hearing as well to confirm all of the appointments.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Singleton, sorry about that.
And thank you for taking the time to hear me, and good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. So I'll just introduce myself quickly. I'm Jenny Singleton, like Director Brown said, and I'm an attorney. I have a past in private practice, and then this past summer I transitioned to working for legal aid, where I work within a division that provides training to legal aid attorneys across the state, and then we also leverage technology to provide a little more access to justice for people that legal aid can't serve. So I think both of those roles have application to my work on the commission. And in the past year, I've served as the chair of the outreach committee, and I've also served on the other 2 committees that we have, which are the Rules and Governance Committee and also the Policy and Procedure Committee. And I'm excited about the work that we've done in the last year. I know we're a new organization, and I know that civilian oversight of law enforcement is a challenging and controversial role to play. But I think we've come out with good work, and I'm excited to continue with that work. In particular, just in the past week, we released a study on cultural awareness training that I think if we're able to craft some really solid recommendations will help ensure that our officers, when they're communicating with civilians, are able to do so in a way that's both lawful and respectful of those civilians. And I've also been excited about the the ways in which commissioners have been able to serve as a bridge between the community and the police department. So I know Councilmember Warsami, you were at the recent DHS roundtable, and I was able to attend that as well, just to get a feel for what the issues are between local law enforcement and then particularly the Somali community, so that I have my finger on the pulse of what's going on with that. I've also been able to attend various community forums. I was at a Sabathani forum with Councilmember Gordon to talk about issues of police misconduct following the events in Ferguson. So I think there's a lot of work yet to be done, but I think I've shown that I'm committed to the process and to dedicating my time. So I would be honored to serve as vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Adriana Ciarello.
Good afternoon. How is everyone today? Good to be here. I'm very excited actually to be here, to have made it this far. I have worked with the community very closely. I consider myself a political activist and an organizer. I have had the fortune to be able to found a nonprofit 5 years ago. And through that experience, I was able to really build relationships with the local representatives. Because as a community, we don't work collectively together in order to achieve a better community, nothing moves forward. I've been in Minneapolis for 1.5 years only. So when we arrive here, what I do, my work is to come and work with churches, nonprofits, and businesses. And we give a presentation to the community to learn about their legal rights, benefits, and responsibilities as well. And when we arrived here, we had the opportunity to work very closely with the community in Carver, where the Hispanic community was being targeted and they were being racial profiling by a police officer. So we gathered with the community, we worked together, and the community was able to understand that they had a responsibility to come and speak to the chief of police. And we actually did. And the officer was suspended and is currently under an investigation. And my point of all of this is that I have had the experience to work with the community and the representatives. If we don't have that, if the community doesn't understand that if there is an issue, we must come forward and denounce what is going on that is wrong, but also to be able to understand that together we can create a better community with the police, with the mayors, with the commissioners. So I consider myself very lucky in that sense that we need to come to the community. If there is an issue, if we don't get involved, nothing will change. So I have had the expertise to be able to work with the community and to move things forward. So I would really appreciate for you to understand that my passion is to be able to be the bridge of communication for the police force in the community, to be able to bridge together as one, and to use my expertise and my passion to serve in this commission. Thank you.
Council members, any questions? Mr. Rillo, you know, in your testimony, there was a question that begged to be answered, which is, you had said that you'd been in the city of Minneapolis for about 1.5 years, right?
Correct.
Where were you beforehand?
Where I was before in Florida for 20 years. I lived in Florida, and I'll be honest with you, being the stranger in here, there are many issues that people, complain about, but being the foreigner in Minneapolis, what a difference from where I come from to here. In Florida, we don't even have commissions or committees, that do give suggestions or recommendations to a body like you all that represents the people. So that connection does not exist. So I see the great things that are going on here, but also, that we have issues and problems. And those problems, for me at least, as a stranger in here, because I see things through different lenses, is an opportunity to make things better. So, I'm very happy to be here. I actually fell in love with Minneapolis 1.5 years ago. So I'm here because I made a conscious decision, and my family and I, we moved over here, and we have always been involved with the community, always. Ever since we started, I'm originally from Mexico, born and raised. So ever since I got to Florida, I had the fortune to meet such a wonderful man, which is my husband. And he's an Eagle Scout, by heart. So he's a community activist as well. He's an attorney by trade, but we have been very involved in the community. So my passion, is in the understanding that I have, especially with the immigrant community, is the disconnection that we have because of the cultural differences, the language, and many other things. And that's one thing that we also need to improve in the police department, is to create a better cultural awareness of respect.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, it takes a new person to give us some hope and perspective about Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next candidate is Nadia Medicine-Crow.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nita Medicine-Crow. Thank you for allowing an opportunity to be here to speak with you guys today. I'm an enrolled member of the Crow Creek Dakota Nation. I was born here in Minneapolis. I've been active here in the community. I work as an employment counselor. I've been doing that for 7 years. I'm really a community organizer. I work with the youth. So I've been really involved in the community. The reason why I want to serve is coming from my heart. I was told to come up here and speak from my heart. And so I want you to know that my community is my heart. Everything we do is connected and intertwined and interconnected, and so what we do affects others. So I want to serve on this commission because the work being done is critical and voices need to be heard, and the responsibility and obligation of the community is vital. I believe this can be done while upholding the mission, vision statements, core values with honor and integrity. My journey has led me to be here and now to this place and time where I have been given an invaluable opportunity to help affect positive change with the PCROC, Police Conduct Review Oversight Commission. To me, a leader is obligated to the people and serves the people. I want to be that intermediary. I want to be that link to use the knowledge and power that I've been given to distinguish the balance between knowledge and wisdom, your head and your heart. So it has become to pass that the greatest gift is our heart. And in doing all things, we must remember this. And this is why, essentially, that I want to become a PCROC commissioner. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate is Amran Farr.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to appear in front of you. I'm honored to be here. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Amran Farah. I was born in Mogadishu, Somalia, but I grew up in South Minneapolis. I recently graduated from Hamlin School of Law, and I received my Bachelor's of Arts degree from the University of St. Thomas. I currently clerk for Judge Pamela Alexander in the 4th Judicial District here in Hennepin County. While in law school, I clerked for both the Hennepin County Attorney's Office as well as the Hennepin County Public Defender's Office. While in college, I worked with several immigrant nonprofit organizations, and while in law school, I focused on civic engagement and legal knowledge within the Somali community. Now, let me tell you a little bit about why I think I'm an excellent candidate for the commission. I'm passionate about equal justice, and I believe in a transparent legal system. I believe that the cornerstone of our legal system is trust between the judges, law enforcement, and the people. And I think once that trust is lost, that there's really no going back. And working at the county attorney's office, the public defender's office, and now in a criminal block with the judge that I work for, I see that the community, when they do have trust in the legal system, they're more willing to engage, they're more willing to understand, and everything works more efficiently. When there's a lack of trust, nobody wins. The law enforcement can't do their job, the judges can't do their job, and the people aren't happy. I think based on my background and experience, I would be an excellent candidate for the commission, and I welcome it. And thank you for, again, allowing me to appear in front of you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? All right, thank you.
And our last candidate is Laura Westfall.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Laura Westfall. I'm from the 13th Ward. I live right by Clara Barton School. And I am, most of my career, been an attorney and a business consultant. And I would like to, wish I could echo all the great things these other candidates have said. But I think what I can say, why I would really like to be on this commission, is because I am a really excellent project manager. And I have the ability to spot the issues that are going to affect the police department. And I have the ability to recognize from reading all the policy and procedure manuals what policies might need to be changed or rewritten. And mostly, I am very good at filtering out all the noise of competing interests and keeping the people I'm working with engaged and focused on the key issues at hand, and resolving those issues, moving the paperwork along. And I would be really thrilled to do this.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? All right, thank you, Laura. Okay, for the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, I'm going to open up this public hearing, and anyone from the community want to say anything with regards to these four candidates? Mr. Bicking.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think these are excellent candidates, and I'm glad to see them. And I particularly want to thank the applicants for coming forward, for doing a difficult and often frustrating job. Just had a couple quick comments on the process. I think it would be good if the public could see the public portion of all the applicants' applications, or at least maybe the 13 finalists, because otherwise, at least as far as the public is concerned, this public hearing is essentially a ratification of applicants already chosen. I also have a concern that others raised a year ago about the chief of police or the chief's representative being on the selection committee. These positions are for civilian oversight of the police, and I think it's inappropriate for the chief or her representative to be involved in their selection of someone who is supposed to sort of be a regulator or oversight of that. I hope there's been more turnover than we would wish for in these positions, and I don't know quite how we can avoid that other than by really good vetting of people's intentions. But I hope that you'll interview or debrief some of the departing members, because I think, it's important to look at them carefully when they're appointed, but it's important to follow up also during their term, and I think especially afterwards when they may be able to speak more freely and reflect on their experience. I think also that's really important for the OPCR candidates who are coming next, because none of what they do is seen by the general public. And so you are the only people who can really monitor how it's going with the people you appoint. So, and I hope that the OPCR members will come out in public more often at public meetings so that they can speak and the community can have some input there. And one last thing with the PCOC, I think it's been a frustrating thing for people because the chief has talked about involving the community and stakeholders and all that, but I know that commission has been shut out of all the consideration of the standard operating procedure for the body cameras and may be included later. But I think this is a resource that was set up particularly for policy situations like that. And to see them shut out despite asking for months and months to be involved, that's a problem that the new appointees will encounter, and I hope they'll be prepared to deal with that. Similarly with the draft report that's just come out from the Office of Justice Programs, which was supposed to be involved with all stakeholders and community members and all that, and to find out just last night that no member of the PCOC, including the chair, was involved in any way or contacted in the drafting of a report that's specifically about police accountability measures. in this city. So in your oversight and watching the process and the work of these appointees, I think those are things to particularly pay attention to. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Becking. Anyone else? All right, Mr. Rickmeyer.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. First of all, I believe these are great candidates. I believe Michael Brown and the Director of the Civil Rights Department did a great job in selecting the candidates to be put forth here. The one thing that I'm missing here, and maybe someone can get back to me, is that what's causing a lot of the problem on the street is how the officers are actually being trained. In other words, the officers are doing what they're trained. So when something happens, they're actually not in violation of the training manual that they've gone through in the training. So the training officers who are actually training the police, I believe if we added a conduct review panel to include the training officers who are training the police officers, so that way, for instance, and I'll give you a brief example. One night, a person was grabbed and the officers were yelling, believing this person was drunk, and kind of walked him backwards, and the person didn't say a word. So eventually the guy ran into a light pole, and then the officers didn't say a word, and I didn't hear what the other person said. But then the person wasn't taken down to the ground or brutalized. So I believe if the officers would allow people to talk without yelling, and I'm not saying it correctly, but...
Mr. Rickmeyer, I need you to wrap up quickly.
I apologize. Let me say it differently. I just believe that if the training officers have had misconduct, brutalizing others, that they can teach other police officers how to brutalize the residents within the law. And I'm just saying that how the police officers are being trained should be looked at, as well as the officers' conduct. With that being said, I believe that the majority of the police officers are well respected and they do a great job.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brown, could you come up here and try to respond to Mr. Becking and Mr. Rickmeyer with regards to what they've said, and especially with regards to what Mr. Becking said a little bit earlier with regards to it just appears as though these names are being thrown to the city council for ratification, but I guess there isn't really an open process in terms of allowing us to see who the applicants are. And in this situation, I don't know why it was that two of these appointees are being directed as council appointees and two from the mayor. In the sense that, I don't know if the council really had a chance to pick who they wanted to be their appointees and vice versa. So if you can respond to that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Part of what we did back in August was send out an invitation to each of the council members, inviting them to participate on the selection process. And what we did when we set it up is we knew that we couldn't have everybody involved in that particular selection. So we reserved 2 spaces for council to participate and really kind of have more of an active piece in selecting those individuals. We heard back from Council Member Cano's office. We didn't hear back from any of the other offices, and because of the tight timeline, we wanted to move forward with getting the selection process done so that we could be able to seat the commissioners in the January meeting when we have that turnover. If we don't have the 4 individuals coming on in January. We'll only have 3 members on the commission, and that will not be enough members for the commission to be able to take action because quorum with that organization is 4. With regard to the structure of the process, I did actually take down some notes. I don't have any immediate comments on the structure. I think in the last 4 years that we've brought forward names for the various commissions, whether it was the former CRA or the different iterations of the Commission on Civil Rights, we've always strived to try to improve that process, and this particular round of the process is really an accumulation of a lot of the best practices that we've picked up along the way. So I took some notes, and we'll take this into consideration as we do the next selection.
Okay, and can we open it up so that the community knows, I mean, who applied and, who the applicants are? I mean, at this point, or what's the justification for only allowing the public to know the 4 people who are being appointed in this situation?
And Mr. Chair, in the past, one of the ways that we've done is we've called everybody forward and let everybody testify as to why they want to be on, and then afterwards select from that group. We found that that wasn't the most efficient way to do that, and that might even date back to maybe 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. And I see Councilmember Gordon agreeing with me. I think that's one of the ways that we've done it before. We've often tried to find the best way to do this, and a lot of the feedback that we got during that time period was those individuals who came forward who did testify then felt slightly slighted that they were asked to come forward and testify and then not get selected. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with a balance of a way to do this so that those who are really being considered as semifinalists or finalists are the ones that we're asking to come forward. We're not taking up the time of other individuals whose names we didn't move forward. So that's one of the reasons why. But as I said, I did take some notes, and certainly in the next round, we can factor those opinions into the way that we do the process next time.
Councilmember Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do remember when we used to have, at least I think the Civil Rights Commissioner applicants all come and speak. Then we actually would take a whole other cycle, and the committee could then look at the applications, reflect on the comments or what they heard, and make the recommendations later. I think that that's something worth considering, but it takes a lot of time. And also what would happen is if you couldn't get off in the afternoon to come in and speak, there was you had a lot of points against you, I think, ultimately, because people would think, well, they couldn't even come down to testify in front of us or speak in front of us. That was interesting. But one of the comments that Mr. Bicking made had to do with who sits on the review panel of the applications, and is that the appropriate role for the chief of police or her designee, which I think is an interesting question. We have a lot of advisory groups that are there to be advisory to a department, and then it makes much more sense to have the department involvement. We have oversight in this name, and it's overseeing a department, and I think that's something that we should think about. Is that expressly, do you recall if that's something that's in the ordinance that says they will be chosen through that process, or is that just something we decided to do, having the chief or somebody from the department help us review them?
And Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, first of all, I think I do agree with your memory of the way that we had done that 7, 8 years ago. That was the process that we used. And part of what we were trying to do with kind of flipping it the other way around, which is sit down and review all the applications and then call people in for interviews, is what we're trying to do is try to cut out some of that process to speed up how we would be able to select folks. And that's part of the reason why we send the invitations out, to make sure that council members know what the process is and what steps that we're taking and what involvement they can have. As to involvement, I think the main trigger in changing the way in which who we're inviting to be a part of the selection process, I think directly goes into the process that we have. And with the Office of Police Conduct Review and the system that we have set up, it always was considered to be a joint venture. We have very strong stakeholders, both on the police department side and also on the civil rights department side. And part of what we wanted to do was to make sure that we had buy-in from all sides. And part of it is that there's really fantastic feedback that we've gotten from the police department in the being part of the selection process. And so part of what it is that when, I think ultimately when recommendations are coming from the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, we've kind of moved away from well, we didn't know who these people were or how the people were selected. It's really bringing more collaboration into the process. And I think that's really the foundation of what the Office of Police Conduct Review is really about.
So just to clarify, though, there's nothing in the ordinance that says that their appointment has to be, their applications are to be reviewed by the police department or not. That's just something we put into the process ourselves.
And Mr. Chair and Councilmember Gordon, in fact, the ordinance is very vague as to what a process is. It does not delineate any of the process that we have outlined, and all the feedback that we've had regarding the process, including feedback from the clerk's process, is that we've really established a really solid process for moving applications through smoothly to the public hearing to this point so that we can move them forward, get the individual selected confirmed, and get people trained and sitting on the board so that we don't have any lapse of time for any of the important matters that they're working on, particularly with the Police Conduct Oversight Commission. In this particular situation, I think it is even more critical that should we not have the 4 folks move forward, we wouldn't have a commission in January that would have quorum.
Appreciate that. And Mr. Chair, if I could. So I do think, though, the perception is really important, and I think we might. I don't think the council or the mayor has any input in who the chief designates from the department to sit on the review panels or any of that. We don't even know who they are. As far as I'm concerned, it changes. So in that perspective, we don't influence that at all. And so having the department influence have an influence over all the seats there, it could just give the impression to the general public that perhaps all we're getting is people who are going to rubber stamp what the police are supporting and what the police want to do, and they won't get reappointed unless they have kind of the blessing of the police chief, and that's who's sitting there. And so this really isn't a good, unbiased community representative group. And so that's just where my concern comes from. Just the fact that we decided to merge internal affairs with civilian oversight created that problem in the first place. And as you recall, I wasn't supportive of skewing it so far. I actually wanted to have more civilians from the outside sit on these panels so that, because I think there's already concerns that having police in uniforms, authority figures, just they're speaking about what should be done. They're the pros, they're the experts, so they know this is the policy. This is what use of force is in this case. Nobody violated anything. The civilians in the panel, unless they're really strong, self-confident, and hopefully this group is, and conscientious people, it's difficult to stand up to that. And this is the review panel, maybe more than the oversight, but I'm sure the oversight still is influenced by staff. So, and that you don't have to respond necessarily, but that's just why sometimes, even though we don't think it'll make a big difference, there's the public perception of, well, how credible is this oversight?
And Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, I won't go point by point, but I just want to raise a couple of points. One, part of what we've done at the office is really try to create more transparency where we've been able to do that. So if you take a look on our website under the Police Conduct Review panel, you will see that the individuals who are designated by the police chief to serve on the panel, the sworn individuals, they are actually listed there along with their shifts and their terms and the length of terms, how long they've been here. So what we've tried to do is try to make sure that we're creating a record just so that people know who those folks are. And I just wanted to make sure that we got that information out there. And as far as individuals from the police department being involved, I haven't found in the application process that there was any sort of overbearing input at all. I found all the input to be extremely meaningful. I found the involvement, particularly from Commander Granger from Internal Affairs, to be absolutely sincere. And I know that he has a really strong interest in seeing the OPCR to be successful. We could certainly have more dialogue about that. I just also wanted to point out that there is a difference between the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, which is all civilians, so it'll be all 7 civilian who take a look at policy. They do audits of summary case data. They discuss in public forum that information. They meet the second Tuesday, so their meeting was last night, second Tuesday of every month, and you're absolutely welcome to come and check out one of the meetings now where we've moved past the first year. They are quite a absolutely wonderful group, and a lot of great and fantastic conversations happened there. So I just want to make sure that we put that invitation out to you as well to come and see what sort of changes that we've made and the capacity they have to get some of the work done.
Thank you.
Council members, any other questions? Mr. Brown, a couple of things. One is you stress that there's a value for transparency, and you stress that the ordinance doesn't really provide direction in terms of how you do things. And so my thing to you is that what Mr. Bicking is asking for isn't really that much out of the ordinary. I mean, in terms of allowing for the public to know who the applicants are. I mean, obviously they're going to know who the applicants are who were selected, but I mean, just allowing people to know that, that's not asking too much. And I think the second thing is just with regards to what Councilmember Gordon mentioned, which is having the police representative present. I mean, we should reconsider that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, council members, with regards to Police Conduct Oversight Commission, we have 4 appointments here, and I will move that we recommend all 4. Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Turchik, you have a comment? Okay. Mr. Please come on up. Come on up. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chair and committee members, I'm sorry about that. I should have raised my hand earlier, but I thought you were going to ask for 3 times for if there are any other comments.
Okay. That was the second time now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I basically agree with virtually everything that Dave Bicking said. I am very impressed with the candidates from the statements that I read online, especially from their oral statements today. I might mention that from my trying to recall from the 90s in the CRA, that Miss Medicine Crow might be, I don't mean to put pressure on her, but she might be the first Native American person to have served on a police oversight body in this city. So thank you. I do have three comments regarding the selection process. As Mr. Bicking said, that we've had a very high turnover in the PCOC. 4 people of the 7 left in the first year of the PCOC's existence. And it seems to me that the ordinance requires very significant training. If you look at the Civil Service Commission in the ordinance, there's no training mentioned in the ordinance, but there's very significant training that's mentioned in the PCOC ordinance. And in fact, some of the training doesn't even have to be completed till the second year, till 2 years of service. Plus, a lot of the projects that the PCOC seems to be involved in are long-term projects. It takes them months sometimes to get information that they're seeking. And so I would suggest that you consider extending the term of office for the commissioners to 3 years. The Civil Service Commissioners already served for 3 years. I think 3 years would also impress on the people who might be looking for homes outside the city that this is a long-term commitment. A second comment I have is that the requirements for this position, for the PCOC and the PCR, the Police Conduct Review Panel, it's the only ordinance I could find where the council has delegated what the requirements should be to a city agency. All you have listed in the ordinance is residents, and you can't have been previously or now employed by the police department. And then the ordinance says the Office of Police Conduct Review may establish additional required qualifications. That's very unusual in I couldn't find that in any other ordinance in the city that I looked at. And that may be because the Civil Rights Department was heavily involved in writing this ordinance. And one of the required qualifications, even the former head commander of Internal Affairs, Commander Medere Arredondo, didn't think made sense. So I think you should consider taking on the responsibility of listing the qualifications if you want to go beyond residents and not having been employed by the police department. And a third comment I have is that the Police Conduct Oversight Commission not only oversees the police department, but in some respects it oversees the Office of Police Conduct Review. As Director Brown mentioned, they audit case summaries that are conducted by the Office of Police Conduct Review. And the ordinance also says that the commission may conduct a program of research and study for the purpose of ascertaining how the objectives of this chapter being the chapter that established the Office of Police Conduct Review, how the objectives of this chapter may be attained and sustained. So not only is there might be a conflict of interest in the police being heavily involved in the selection process for members of this commission, there also might be a conflict of interest in even the members of the OPCR being involved in this selection process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Torczyk. All right, since we still have an open public hearing, any other comments from anybody? Going once, going twice, we will close the public hearing. Mr. Torczyk, I apologize about that. The motion's before us to approve the 4 appointments for the Police Conduct Oversight Commission. Any discussion? Councilmember Gordon.
Well, I just want to thank the applicants so much for doing this and just kind of highlight how I think we're at a very unique time in the city, given some of the recent news coverage and just the fact that I think the chief sponsored 3 community discussions with the mayor on police conduct. We had the whole national discussion around what's happened in Ferguson. We are now trying to drive the department, the city, the criminal justice system more towards equity and understanding exactly the role the police and our criminal justice system might be playing in the larger structural racism that's going on. I think there's an openness maybe to look at different ideas, and so it's a real opportunity for those of you who volunteered to get interested in this to see if you can make a difference. And I think there's many leaders in the city council members and the mayor that are very interested in seeing progress here. I think it's tricky. There's probably minefields on the way, and there's, how do you kind of navigate through that to make sure you can influence policy in the right way from the position that you're in. But I think it's a great opportunity, and your service could be of enormous value to the present and to the future welfare of our city. So thank you so much, and good luck. And if you need help or assistance along the way, don't hesitate to turn to council offices and council members. I can't speak for anybody else really, but we're all basically want to help and help people do the best they can. So I wouldn't hesitate to at least ask.
Any other comments? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move to the third panel or commission, the Police Conduct Review Panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last group is the Police Conduct Review Panel. Nak Nguyen was not able to be here today. She did submit a letter that should be included in the information that's online. So I just will encourage you and point you in the direction of that letter. But Phil Trebetotsky is here, and I invite him to come up and address the committee.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil Trebetotsky. I live in the 8th Ward, 4109 Clinton Avenue. Here today because I seek to serve my community and make a positive impact in the city that I love by becoming a part of the City of Minneapolis Police Conduct Review Panel. I've been employed by the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust for almost 10 years. I serve 6 counties of Minnesota cities in dispute resolution for a wide variety of city issues, including police conduct and civil rights violations. My experiences should pair well with the duties of the review panel. We've assured no conflict of interest, and I'm able to provide empathy and an educated devil's advocacy for each side of any given complaint. I strive to diversify my current experiences in dispute resolution and also better my understanding of the inner operations of the city government. I will do my best to assure fair, just, and reasonable conduct from our city's police department. I promise to evaluate each case individually on its merits and provide thorough analyses and progressive recommendations for action. Thank you all for your consideration. Very proud and honored to be here today. Council members, any questions?
Mr. Trebetotsky, totally butchering your name. I apologize about that. I just wanted to ask you, with regards to the city of Minneapolis and its police department, do we get insurance from the League of Minnesota Cities at all?
You do not. You're self-insured, not a part of the insurance trust pool.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, with the police conduct review panel, there were two candidates. One person, Nak Win, was not able to be here, but she submitted a letter. Mr. Trebetowski spoke, and so at this point, I'm going to open up the public hearing, and does anybody have any comments to add to this? Mr. Bicking.
Thank you, and I forgot to give my address last time, 4200 Cedar Avenue, Ward 8. I'm very hesitant to bring this up because Mr. Trebetowski seems like a very nice fellow, and I have nothing against him personally, nor do I know anything about him personally. So, but I'm concerned a little bit about appearance of bias or conflict of interest. It's true that the League of Cities does not insure Minneapolis. If it did, I think there would be a significant conflict of interest because the League of Cities, of course, as an insurer, wants to minimize its exposure, and whether or not an officer is found guilty of misconduct has a significant impact possibly upon the kind of settlement that there might be in a misconduct award. So, but that's not an issue here in Minneapolis because we are not insured by the League of Cities. But he provides that service, and as he mentioned, for issues of police misconduct in other cities and counties. And I think, again, there's an issue of a possible bias or perceived bias. I can't say whether he has a bias or not, but for his employer, it's very important that he minimize the liability that the League of Cities has by denying claims. That's what insurance claims people do, whether it's the League of Cities or any insurance company. And in that, I fear that there may be a perceived bias, and I find this kind of troublesome. I don't know who else has applied. I don't know their qualifications whatsoever, but it's something I think that might be followed up on. One could argue opposite, that because of his position, he has a real interest in seeing the police behave better and not having issues of misconduct, because after all, that's the fundamental purpose of the Office of Police Conduct Review, is to improve the behavior of the police so that those claims don't come to our city or, if it were other cities, the League of Minnesota Cities. Still, it's a little bit of a question there, and I think particularly because the Office of the Police Conduct Review Panel operates entirely in secret. No one will ever be able to, aside from a very few people who are, on that panel, ever see the results of his work one way or the other. So as I say, I'm very hesitant to bring that up because it's absolutely nothing against him personally. But appearances are an issue, just as, the chief being on that selection panel. It may be a problem simply of appearance. But I think it's not good to have that appearance that there could be a feeling by people that, these are rubber stamped by the police. And that obviously would not be fair to the applicants who are here today and the applicants who have served on the PCOC, who I believe have mostly served with considerable distinction. I'm very happy with those. So I don't know how to address that other than to say it's I think, unfortunate that there is this choice and without a chance to look at other possibilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bicking. Any other comments? All right, going once, going twice. All right, we will close the public hearing. So, council members, any comments, discussion at this point with regard to these two appointments? Okay, hearing none, I will move that we recommend these two appointments to go forward. Any discussion? I just wanted to add one thing about Mr. Trebetowski. I'm going to butcher his name one more time. I apologize about that, but Mr. Bicking had mentioned that there are two ways of looking at it. One is, a potential bias. The other is that, he could bring that sort of expertise that we don't have. And, without knowing the gentleman, I have to say, I like the second or the alternative much better, that he is bringing a certain level of expertise to the police conduct review panel that they probably wouldn't have otherwise. And I think, in some ways we have to go on faith with a lot of folks here, just because, they bring the sort of work experience that, will add to these commissions and panels. And I think in this situation, I will blindly and loyally go with the second alternative. And so I would just say, I think that adds quite a bit to us. Certainly, we have, in some ways, we have vetted this with our city attorney's office. And, at some point, if there are red flags, we will point that out and we will let the Civil Rights Department know about that. But in this situation, I think that the second alternative makes a lot more sense. So I will throw that out there. All right, well, all those in favor of this, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. And thank you so much for this. I apologize if I've dragged this on too long, but I just thought it was appropriate to just divide every single commission and panel into separate items, just so that we can thoroughly go through each of the appointees. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you all for participating, and really appreciate that. And Council President Johnson.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, I just want to apologize for being late, but I want to recognize that I was late because I attended a recognition ceremony at the county attorney's office today, and Mr. Freeman honored a group of people, neighbors, people from the county attorney's office, our crime prevention specialist, and our housing inspectors that have worked together on a pilot to streamline our process for using the conduct on premise for problem properties, and then also the nuisance statute. And they did really good work, and we're recognized for that today. So it was a great honor for them.
Well, that's great. I feel bad I couldn't have made it, but I had to be here. So thank you for being there. All right, well, with no further business before us, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.